Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head up to Eslöv, just to the north of me here in Lund, Skåne in Sweden, and we're going to do my second visit to Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri, basically Remmarlöv Farms Brewery if you want to translate that into English. But this is another one of their winter releases. This one's called the Red Carol. It comes in at 5.9% and it uses a Scottish yeast strain. Systembolaget had this one down as a Scotch ale, although Rate Beer has it listed as an amber ale for some reason, but it should be quite nice. And I enjoyed the last beer I had from these guys, so I'm looking forward to this. This is a brewery that Andreas from Ulrisan, my friend, he says that these guys have got some really interesting things going on, but make sure you check out the link to his blog in the description below, and it's always cool to try your local breweries here in Sweden as well, so make sure you check these guys out if you get the chance. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other Remmarlöv reviews I've done before. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do subscribe to the channel, and the whole channel uses a geography based tagging system, so if you go into the homepage you can search for beer based on country, city or state, whatever you're interested in. There's also the playlists of beers from different countries. Do check out the interviews, the sake reviews, the whiskey reviews and all the other things on the channel, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries you guys would like to see me review. Always interesting to hear from you guys, and your support of the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri. So the brewery are based on a farm in Eslöv, like I mentioned to you. This is maybe about 20 minutes or so to the north of Lund, but they've been brewing here since the winter or the autumn of 2014, and they actually released their bottles into Systembolaget in January 2015. So the owner and founder of the brewery is Håkan Nilsson, and together with his wife Michele, they actually started a plan for a brewery a couple of years back, and the brewery is based on the family farm, and Håkan is actually the 5th generation of his family to work in the countryside in Skåne. So the old barn on the farm was converted and a brew house of 1500 litres was installed, and Hampus Olofsson was hired as a brewer in August 2014. He'd actually worked previously for Malmö Brewing Company, and Hampus says his kind of brewing philosophy is that he wants to brew clean beers to kind of focus on that are true to the style and sort of focus on the balance of flavours, but drinkability is also key. He quite likes the American brewing tradition simply because that's what he likes to drink himself, so those are the kind of beers that they strive to brew actually. So there's some interesting stuff coming out there. Their IPA, the Fenton's IPA, is supposed to be really good. I still need to try that one, and the other winter beer, the Red Slope, I really enjoyed that when I reviewed it, so if you get the chance I would recommend that you try these guys. So just to list the other beers you can get from these guys quickly, there's the Crimson Red Ale, the Farmer's Organic Saison, the Fenton Session IPA, Holly Blonde Ale, and they've also got the Genius IPA as well. Like I said, they've got the Red Slope here, or the Red Carol here for a winter release. This is the organic winter release. They've also got the Red Slope, which is their Imperial Red beer, and they also have an interesting beer as well that I think might have been a limited edition. It was called Local Hops, and it was using all Swedish malts and hops. So really quite an interesting one actually, and hopefully I can get a hold of that one to try for you sometime. But yeah, that's enough about the brewery just now. Let's actually get on to the tasting of this beer itself. So I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a little look at this one. So as you can see, it's the kind of standard artwork from Remmarlöv this. It's actually very similar to the Red Slope, but you can see there's the European organic symbol on this one. 5.9% ABV, Columbus and Centennial in this one. And it tells you on the side here, the Red Carol Winter is an organic beer for the winter season. It's brewed with Swedish ecological corn malt and with a yeast strain from Scotland. And it's basically it's got a nice caramel flavour with some kind of dark bread flavours too, so it should be quite nice. My Swedish is coming on a little bit, so I can kind of translate fairly quickly. But yeah, nicely presented. There's the standard Remmarlöv bottle cap on this one, the hen sitting on the top there, and there you can see the reindeer just jumping about on the side of the bottle there, just this little guy here. But yeah, very nicely presented, so let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Definitely looking forward to this one. So, nice little smoky opening on this, as you can see. And we'll get it out and into the glass. You can smell a bit of the caramel coming off this. Let me just put that in just now and we'll sugar it up and have a look at the aroma. But as you can see, this beer is poured a really nice kind of, it's fair to say that's a kind of reddy, coppery colour. I think that's a fair way to describe this one. If I just hold it up there, you can see the colour of that a little bit better, but it looks Very, very nice. It is actually crystal clear. If I put my fingers through this, the beer is very, very clear. There's some big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of where the head should be. It's actually not really poured ahead, but we'll see if we get one when we sugar it up. So we'll take a closer look at this aroma then. Oh yeah, no, you can smell the Scottish yeast in that. You really can. Scottish yeast will always give you this kind of dark, bready character. It's a little bit roasted, maybe even a little bit earthy, but it's a sort of dark, caramelly, sort of roasty biscuit kind of thing you get from the Scottish malt. You can really smell that in this beer. So the aroma is a kind of, there's a lot of caramel in this one. It's quite toasted. You can smell that sort of brown bread, that sort of Scotch ale character. This is more like a kind of traditional Scotch ale than it is compared to some of the American Scotch ales actually. But yeah, there's a bit of earthy hop in there. There's a wee bit of red fruit I think coming out, but you can really get that kind of brown bread character. A little bit of biscuit malt, that sort of corny syrup thing that you get that gives you that kind of biscuity aroma. Some nice brown bread in there. Yeah, it has kind of everything you'd expect of the Scotch ale. But it's quite interesting because it does smell different to the ones that we get at home. For me, this is definitely, just on the aroma, it's definitely a Scotch ale rather than an amber ale. I don't know why Rate Beer has it listed as an amber ale. Whoever's put that beer in doesn't know their beer styles properly. But yeah, this is quite a nice one, this. So just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this one. It's very bready, quite dark bready character, some cereals in there, some nice biscuity malts, kind of roasted, sort of toasted caramel, a bit of earthy hop, a bit of grassiness coming out of this one as well actually, and then a little bit of red fruit coming from this beer. So yeah, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma, but let's get stuck into this one then. So this is the Red Carol from Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri in Eslöv here in Skåne in Sweden. Skål! That's quite nice actually. Whenever I've had organic beers in Germany, I had a lot of organic beers in Germany because one of the local breweries in Heidelberg when I was there, they actually specialised in brewing these beers. They always had this kind of chalky mouthfeel to them and they just didn't feel quite right. The malt base and things that you always had from these beers just tasted a bit different, but this one is actually quite nicely done. It does actually have quite a rich caramelly flavour to it, this beer. You can really pick up the roastiness of the malt there. So in the middle of your palate you've got this, it's almost like a pale malt character that goes right across the middle of the palate. On top of that you get some of this kind of brown bready sort of thing going on. You can feel the kind of cereally grains in there, and of course that's when it's leaning more towards the traditional Scotch ale. The American Scotch ales are always a bit more sugary than the original one was. They're always just that bit sweeter, but the traditional Scottish ale was always quite dark with its caramel and quite roasted, and this beer for me kind of captures that more traditional side of the style. But yeah, the graininess in this one actually feels as if it's quite roasted as well, but you've got the sweetness from the caramel. You can feel the roasted characters in the middle of your palate there for the grains, and then right in the middle of the palate you're starting to get the sweetness. The caramel in this one is a bit darker, which as I say is what makes it lean more towards the traditional style rather than the American variant of the Scotch ale. But yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that this one is, you know, it's more of a traditional Scotch ale than an American Scotch ale. They've done this quite nicely actually. This is better than some of the Scotch ales you'll get back home. And it's interesting as well that it's organic. This is the very first time I've actually had an organic Scotch ale. The only one I can think of at home that would do this would be the Black Isle. They have a Scotch ale, but I don't think I've reviewed that for you on the channel yet actually, so I need to have a look for that one when I get back home and try it for comparison. But this is nicely done. It's actually very drinkable. You know, 5.9%, maybe that's what's given the beer, it's quite a dark malt base in this one, but at 5.9%, if I'm not mistaken, that's a little bit higher than you would normally get for an organic beer. I don't know the ins and outs of the organic style of brewing, or with when you use organic ingredients. But this one, you can feel the darkness in the malt base in this one, which is probably from the higher ABV. All the ones that I had from organic breweries before tended to be around 4–4.5%, so 6% is getting to the higher end of the organic beers in my experience. But this is nice. I love that malt base in there. It's got the nice darkness that you should have. It works quite well as a winter warmer, this beer, which is probably what they're going for actually. The winter warmer beers are quite big here in Sweden, but on the hoppy side of the flavour, you're getting a nice earthiness in the back corner of your palate. As you come further forward, the earthiness is it smooths out a little bit. You get less dryness from it. At the front corners of the palate, maybe it's a tiny bit floral, but mainly earthy, I would say, and there's a little bit of grassiness definitely around the front curve of your palate there. And if you just pay attention to that little oily bubble behind the front curve of your tongue there, you get a little bit of the kind of red fruity esters coming out of this beer. Yeah, definitely. There's a little bit of red fruit coming out behind the front curve of your tongue there. Not quite figgy, it's a bit richer than that. It's not quite sharp enough for raisins. It could be a kind of plum thing. I always find plums have quite a smooth fruity flavour to them, but it's very nicely done this. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this beer again. I actually would love to try it on tap and just see how it comes across with a bit of a thicker mouthfeel actually. But the malt base in this one is really nice, and I always find if you have beers on the kind of pool kegs, or you have it on the casks, then they can turn out, you just get a bit thick, a bit more of a kind of thickness from the malt base. But even in the bottle conditioned version is very nice. But there are some beers that I come across when I'm reviewing, and I just think if that was on the pool cask, it would just be just that little bit nicer. But it is really good actually. I do like that, and I'm impressed that someone in Sweden has gone and brewed the Scotch ale quite as well as this, and quite close to the traditional Scottish style. So really cool that. Big thumbs up to Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri for that. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this beer again. In terms of the mouthfeel with this one, I would say it's mid-bodied. The carbonation on this one, it does have a little bit of carbonation in it, and that helps bring out the kind of winter warming aspect, I guess, of this one. So in a way it has some of the mouthfeel of the Swedish winter warmer, but it really has the flavour of a Scotch ale, so that makes the beer a little bit quirky in that regard, I would say. But you've got the malt base on this one, I would say, is quite sweet, but it's got a little bit of darkness to it, a little bit of roasted character and things like that. As I said, the grains have that little bit of dryness to them, which is interesting. The hops overall are quite smooth, but you do get a little bit of dryness on the sides of your palate there. But overall, it's a very nice beer. You've got a little bit of juicy fruit character as well. In the aftertaste, really, it's the kind of lingering sort of roasted caramel that's there, and a bit of the earthiness, but overall it's a really quite nice beer, this one. So if you get the chance, I would recommend you try it. I think it's a limited winter release. I don't know if they'll do it next year, but for me it's turned out quite nice. It's turned out really close to some of the Scottish beers that you have. So I need to go home and try one of the organic Scotch ales that we have and do a sort of comparison thing. That would be quite cool. So I'll maybe see if I can get a hold of the Black Isle Scotch ale for you and see how we get on with that. But yeah, really cool to review another beer from Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri. They're doing some interesting stuff. Hopefully I can get their local hops beer at some point. I'd love to try that, the one with the Swedish hops, but I suspect maybe it'll be the summer before that comes out. But we'll see how we get on. If you get the chance, try this one or the Red Slope from Remmarlöv. They've got some really nice beers there, and I think these guys have got a pretty good future ahead of them. So yeah, thank you again for watching my beer reviews. As always, if you have tried this beer for yourself, let me know your own thoughts on it in the comment section below. Always interesting to hear from you guys that are watching the video. So until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Make sure you check out Remmarlöv Gårdsbryggeri from Eslöv here in Skåne in Sweden. Slander just now, and I will catch you very soon. Really nice organic Scotch ale, this one. Ciao.